Welcome. For those of you who are celebrating, happy Valentine's Day. And for those of you who saw retail run amok and were like, nah, I'm good, happy go home raw. Well, happy go home raw to everybody. Take solace in the fact that this will be the last time you hear about Valentine's Day for the rest of the video. So since the SmackDown review from February 4th will be on this video as well, we'll do both of them and I'll smush them together in editing. On this edition of Talking Smack from February 5th, 2022, Oklahoma City is presented with the ravings of one Paul Heyman, but blessed by the figure of the Bloodline, taking up all the space in the ring that they can. Then the percussion hits. The stirring strains of the too chantable entrance theme are heard, and the sparklers are lit. It is Goldberg! He has a challenge for the head of the table. He wants to throw down in Saudi Arabia for the Universal Championship. After the confrontation, Michael Cole starts announcing the match as if Roman's already accepted. Scott Stanford and Matt Camp welcome us to the breakdown and inform us of the night's Hall of Fame special guest, Booker T. They give us the graphic, Roman Reigns versus Still Goldberg at Elimination Chamber. They announce Charlotte and Ronda's SmackDown Women's Championship match for WrestleMania, and Booker T drops in on the duo, complete with the Booker Bear. I didn't know what that creature was the last time he guest starred, so at least this time I got where they were going when he started shaking his imaginary dreads around. Mentioning Goldberg's still impeccable condition, Stanford asks Booker if he'll present a formidable challenge to Roman Reigns. Booker believes Goldberg will. He talks about how we are still excited by the name Goldberg even after all these years, calling him the original Terminator. Matt Camp asserts Goldberg has nothing to lose and notes that he did defeat the almighty Bobby Lashley. Booker is quick to pick up that much like Rocky V, the quickness may be gone, and Goldberg may have to rely on raw power. In this way, Roman is the liquid Terminator. You can't sleep on him. Lots of movie references from the Hall of Famer. Now turning to Rousey Charlotte, Stanford wants to know why she made the choice of the SmackDown Women's Champion. Booker believes that Rousey thinks she can beat Charlotte while Charlotte wants to prove that she can do the same thing to Rousey. I didn't realize until they said it that this would be Rousey's first SmackDown Women's Championship if she happens to win. I thought that at first, maybe they do like a winner-takes-all triple threat match between Rousey, Lynch, and Flair at WrestleMania. But since there's been news of Rousey's deal, including 2 different WrestleMania matches, one for this year and one for next, I'm not as convinced, especially if Bobby Lashley loses the WWE Championship to Lesnar. You wouldn't want like 2 title versus title matches on one pay-per-view. I mean, premium live event. The show pivots to Jimmy Uso and Eric from the Viking Raiders having a singles match with Ivar and Jay at ringside. Jimmy Uso's splash at the end with that finger up cracked me up. Jimmy nets a win for the Bloodline and Megan Morant has the Viking Raiders backstage. She asks what the Raid can expect for their SmackDown Tag Team Championship match against the Usos at Elimination Chamber. Ivar states that this is just the first chapter of this book, and Eric adds that every Viking knows that there's more than one battle that decides a war, and there's nothing the Usos can do to stop them from fulfilling their destiny. The SmackDown Tag Team Championships. They start all breathing and huffing in each other's faces, and it kind of reminded me of what the Usos were saying earlier and what Ivar said about them having a manly odor. I'm not saying they smelled. I've never been around them. I'm just saying the breath sounded hot. Back in the studio, Matt thinks that the Viking Raiders will be better as a team than singles competitors. Not gonna lie, that's helpful. Before the ads, Stanford announces we'll soon be joined by Naomi and Drew McIntyre, which got a girlish squeal and a couple of claps from me. I am a Naomi fan. I may be becoming a Drew McIntyre fan. Just saying. After the commercial break, Stanford and Camp go to Ricochet and Ridge Holland's match, this kind of epic nosy battle. Holland dropped Ricochet on the ring apron, but Ricochet did end up walking away with the victory. They turned the match into a tag team affair. 2 great matches with lots of athletic feats from the former Prince Puma, but Ridge pinned Cesaro for the team win. Again, I love the match, but man, I guess Ricochet is now higher on the pecking order than Cesaro, and I'm a little conflicted about that. I want them both to do well, but maybe Cesaro should win occasionally, or at least not be the one with his back flat on the mat all the time. Ricochet had already won the singles match. Would it hurt him to maybe not get the upper hand on Sheamus and Ridge? Maybe even Sheamus could have been the one to put him under. But I'm glad that ultimately it looks like they're at least using Ricochet. Hopefully he'll be in the Intercontinental title picture soon. Conversation moves to Sonya getting Naomi eliminated at the Royal Rumble. And when Naomi is ready to exact revenge, Adam Pearce distracts her with a championship match prospect against Charlotte Flair for the following week. Megan Morant has Naomi for an interview, and she asks about the opportunity that Naomi's been afforded. Naomi gushes about how Charlotte is the queen for a reason, but how she's going to become SmackDown Women's Champion next week. She wanted to get her hands on Sonya Deville, but this is so much better. She says she almost beat Charlotte Flair, and she knows she can do it. She's literally bouncing up and down with glee. Stanford and Camp ask Booker T for his thoughts. He seems confused about Sonya's underlying issue with Naomi, seeing what she's been doing with the various roles, jacket on, jacket off, but he also hears a lack of confidence in Naomi. To him, she sounds completely different from the Naomi from 2017, who did win the Women's Championship at Elimination Chamber. Booker has a tome of wisdom for the Mistress of Glow. He notes he's never respected any of his opponents because his objective was to win by any means. She needs to ditch the cheerleader mentality and get ready to get busy, because when opportunity knocks, you have to be ready. It's about two things: checks and championships. She can think about the Glow later. Or never. That's also an option. Maybe let her be a grown woman. Camp wants Naomi to direct the fury she has for Sonya Deville at Charlotte. After all, she could be facing Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. Oh, Matt Camp, that's adorable. Of course, creative has been pushing out the same things with sabotage, dirty refs, and not refs for 9.5 years now. With this rivalry between Charlotte and Rousey, no one is buying that Naomi will get anywhere near the SmackDown Women's Championship. But he did make a valiant effort to make it sound like Naomi had a chance at winning. I thought that was really cool. After more ads, they give a replay of the King of Strong Style, Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jinder Mahal. Nakamura wins. There was something off with Boogs' audio, and he has to finger it. Pat McAfee was all over this, but Boogs didn't let the mishaps rattle him. Camp and Stanford use all of this as impetus for some quick comments about the Intercontinental Championship and Sami Zayn's chances at getting it back. Then they go to Drew McIntyre and Happy Corbin's kind of head-to-head conflict, with Madcap Moss trying to sneak in the ring. Madcap Moss gets a flattering joke request from the SmackDown Warrior at the point of a sword. What does a criminal found not guilty have in common with the main event of WrestleMania? They're both gonna get off scot-free. Drew's punchline was way funnier, and he vows to make Corbin's life hell every single week. I mean, happy Corbin. But hopefully this will bring him up a little bit. I hope so, because otherwise I don't see the benefit of the feud long term just yet. If you come up with anything, please put it down in the comments. Megan Morant says that this is the first time Drew McIntyre's been on SmackDown since his neck injury. And Drew notes, yeah, and you didn't do a thing to help me. Morant wants to know what the evening statement did for him on his way to the match with Corbin at Elimination Chamber. He tells us about a doctor evaluating him after day one, saying that he wouldn't make it to Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, but he believed in himself, put himself into rehab harder than anyone else, and after a few weeks, he'd return to the same doctor, and he asked him, "Are you a cyborg?" He says he got some revenge at Royal Rumble, but tonight's Claymore was only the beginning. He reminds us of them trying to end his career and life's work. They've given him a reason to come after them every single week. They're gonna see him in their nightmares, and he's gonna love every minute of it. Camp and Stanford expressed their pity for Corbin and Madcap, as well as their excitement for the upcoming Goldberg versus Roman Reigns Universal title match to end the show. My rating is 4.5 out of 5. I thoroughly enjoyed each and every segment. The Viking Raiders show their drive and determination. They turn their loss into a moment that will prove to be just one slash in an epic and victorious war. They don't even mention loss or defeat in the interview, but the images they give are still enough for us to latch on. Naomi balanced putting Charlotte over well, showing some reverence with her belief that she can beat the queen. In speech, she kind of lived by that "it's how you leave them" idea. She left us wanting her to win. The must-watch interview is Drew McIntyre. He's a storyteller at heart and knows how to do it quickly. That's perfect for post-show stuff. And he brought it in this promo. We're reminded of why even a month felt a little long without the Scottish Warrior, though hopefully he's taken sufficient time to recuperate. While I'm not thrilled about him being in a program with Corbin, the prospect of him psychologically torturing the happy people is pretty funny. What do you all think? How do you feel about Goldberg challenging Roman Reigns? Is Madcap Moss ever going to change his ring gear? Jackie Redmond and Matt Kemp inform us that Hall of Famer JBL will be joining the duo for this February 7th edition of Raw Talk. They give some quick-fire results. RK Bro defeated Alpha Academy in the Academic Bowl. Lita and Becky Lynch faced one another down again, with Lita getting the best of big-time Bex. And the Elimination Chamber for the women is beginning to fill up. We got Nikki, Doudrop, Rhea, Bianca, and Liv who are already in. But there's a mystery fourth woman who hopefully will win. We'll get into who it might be later. The first discussion proper is AJ Styles, the possibility of him becoming a double champion, both US champion and WWE. This evening he had a match against United States champion Damian Priest. Luckily it was non-title, because he did end up defeating the Archer of Infamy. Remember when that's who he was? Sarah Schreiber is with AJ Styles. He talks about having defeated Priest before. He believes he can vanquish the almighty Bobby Lashley and everyone else in the Elimination Chamber. She asks about what he can do differently and what his mindset is. And he asks, well, what can you do when you have no understanding of who's gonna come out next? Redmond calls on JBL to give his opinion on AJ's momentum. The Hall of Famer calls AJ Styles this generation's Shawn Michaels, commenting on his high-level competition and him going against a future star in Damian Priest. Nakemp asks about looking too far ahead to Elimination Chamber in light of a title opportunity. Now, JBL responds with an anecdote about himself getting caught up before a match, looking at Umaga's feet hurting by him just walking across the grate of a steel structure, and knowing that you won't leave an Elimination Chamber the way you came in. But nonetheless, he thinks AJ will be able to compartmentalize his priorities, and Damian Priest has AJ as a tremendous test as US champion. I think it is a major mistake pitting them against each other. There is no way that either of them comes out of this well. Priest is going to have to either drop the championship, or AJ Styles is going to lose in the mid-card when he's just inching back towards the title picture. No one moves forward here without being at the expense of someone else. When giving match predictions, JBL maintains that Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar are obvious favorites to win the Elimination Chamber, but he advises that you don't have to be the last person to enter, you just have to survive. You can't win it early, but you can certainly lose it early. So after some ads, they show replay of Doudrop and Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan's push appears to be officially over. Doudrop drops Liv with ease, and they converse about Doudrop vowing to be more vile than she had been when she first came in. Then the panel move on to Bianca Belair versus Nikki ASH. Rhea was nowhere to be found, so hopefully they're letting that rivalry just kind of dissipate. There was no storyline reason for the EST and ASH to be facing one another, but that kind of worked in a way. It felt like a wrestling fan's wrestling match, and it was okay for it to be an enhancement match, like a spotlight on Bianca on this road to WrestleMania that goes through Elimination Chamber. Sarah Schreiber has the EST backstage, and she asks about her confidence in this moment. Bianca asks if her bangs are all right. She's absolutely radiant. Then gives Nikki her due inside this new personality. She acknowledges Nikki's still tough, but she is the best, and you can't spell WrestleMania without EST. Never thought about that. She was concise and drew excitement in the audience, at least for this fan. Redmond asks Camp about who's the biggest threat in the women's elimination chamber, and in his opinion, it's Rhea Ripley. She's the number 2 to Bianca's number 1 in last year's Royal Rumble match. Bianca's been through quite a bit, but she's gained momentum, even being the Iron Woman in the Royal Rumble match, despite not winning this year. Camp considers her a heavy favorite to leave the Elimination Chamber victorious, but there will be stiff competition to get there. Following more ads, they show the Lita and Becky Lynch face-off. Lita, Becky Lynch face-off. Lita, Becky Lynch face-off. Camp talks about Becky posting pictures of she and Lita on social media. Now, I think this did a lot to heighten the depth to the feud that's kind of centered around Becky's admiration for Lita. He intimates a friendship between the two, but that doesn't exist at the moment because of Lita's challenge for the Raw Women's Championship. There is some serious back and forth physicality, but Lita ends up giving Bex a twist of fate and Lita salt. Lita is asked if she will be going for the Women's Championship at Elimination Chamber. Lita says she isn't a planner, but she feels pretty good and she can't believe what's happening to her right now. When Schreiber pries a bit further, wondering if Lita has Becky's number, she thinks if she didn't get Bex with her words, she caught her with that moonsault. But Becky did catch her as well. They're both gonna give their absolute best. Redmond asks JBL if Becky needs to beat Lita to truly achieve the GOAT status she claims, and he agrees. All the pressure is on Becky Lynch, and the longer the match goes on, the more it favors Lita. Camp praises Lita for embracing the underdog role she has, but that Becky is the one under the pressure. She's the one that would have to pick up the pieces for WrestleMania if she lost her championship. The trio collectively emphasized the idea of Lita being someone that big-time Bex idolizes and how she'll have to overcome those sentiments in order to defeat her. They announced the return of Brock Lesnar for next week's Raw. I'm kind of either way, but it's good he's gonna be there for the go-home show. It feels so quick for there to be another imminent pay-per-view. We aren't even 3 weeks removed from Royal Rumble. It seems as though there should be more of a build between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, specifically one that should happen on television, but build does not ticket sell, I guess. So the rating from this week, 3.5 out of 5. Better than last week for sure, but not stupendous. AJ Styles was a bit terse, but there is still some allure that hints at the matches that he and Damian Priest could have, as well as Elimination Chamber itself. I just hope that the series between he and Damian Priest doesn't degrade both of them. This split personality character has done Damian Priest 0 favors, and this United States Championship back and forth kind of thing with AJ Styles feels like another step to yank Priest back down into the herd, which is already crowded with individuals WWE is doing nothing with. But Lita's comfort and confidence carry over from a couple of weeks ago into this interview, and she puts over Becky effortlessly while still pushing herself as the best of the two. Bianca is as crisp as ever, and much like an emotionally evocative vocalist, she never lets go of the viewer. You don't want to take a breath for fear of missing too much. What do you all think? Will Brock's return intensify the dynamic between Bobby Lashley and the other competitors in the Elimination Chamber match? Or will it take from it? Who's going to win the men's and women's Elimination Chamber matches? Who would you prefer to see become or retain United States Championship? Damian Priest or AJ Styles? Let me know in the comments. Would you like to help support the Casualeann, that wrestling fan channel? Would you like exclusive access to the reviews days before anyone else? Would you like exclusive content? All of these things can be yours if you become a Patreon backer. Click on the link in the description below to make it happen. And be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Tap that bell icon to make sure you get notifications for when new videos come out. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.